Hello and welcome to another episode of Let's Talk About EX. I'm your host, Ryan McGrory, and today we're diving into the heart of employer branding with a special focus on creating authentic and impactful employee value propositions. Joining us is Alexia Elmers, a seasoned talent acquisition specialist in the tech industry, renowned for her innovative approach to EVP. Alexia has led transformative EVP strategies at Go1, ensuring that the brand narrative not only attracts but resonates deeply with the right talent. Today she's here to share her journey, insights and the strategic moves that have set Go1 apart in the competitive tech landscape. Let's get started. Alexia, welcome. How are you?
I am very good. I am in full holiday mode. I head on leave tomorrow. So, I'm feeling good and excited to chat with you.
Excellent. We feel really honoured that you've chosen to spend the last working day with us. Really appreciate it. It was well planned.
Yeah, happy to be here.
I've been really interested to chat to you. I seen a post that you'd put out a little while ago just describing this amazing EVP that you've created, and the post went through the journey and all the steps that you'd taken, and I was desperate to get to talk to you about it because it's I've been through those processes myself and I've made mistakes. I've done things the wrong way when creating EVPs, and I've seen them done the right way and created them the right way, and it looked from the information that you shared that you've done it the right way, and went to a lot of effort and done the hard yards in terms of the research as well. So I was excited to chat to you about this today, and I was wondering if you could start by giving us a little bit of an overview about what sparked the EVP refresh at Go1, and maybe a little bit what the primary goals that you set out to achieve with this update.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So, well, I firstly hope we did it the right way, but I'm always open for feedback. So I think like many kind of scale ups, Go1 has experienced a crazy level of change over the last kind of 2 years. We acquired 3 separate companies, all kind of bringing with them their own unique culture and EVP. And then at an organizational level, evolving from a tech startup to a scale up, and all of the kind of growing pains that come with that. So the TA specific challenges that we identified were, one, our EVP was no longer reflective of who Go1 is today. And two, we wanted to increase talent density, or I guess quality of hire. Funnily enough, our goal was never to attract more people to Go1. We wanted to attract the right people for us. And we thought the best way to do that was to be radically honest about what it means to work at Go1. And so we set off on a project we thought was going to be kind of a 3-month project, ended up being close to 8 months. And it was really broken down into 3 stages, which was the research and analysis phase, the creation of the EVP, and then the enablement and activation.
Excellent. And I think I mentioned you've done things the right way because I've seen people just choose a nice phrase sometimes, something I think rings a bell with the market, and then they plaster it on their careers page and talk about all the amazing perks that they have and think that that's job done. But you've went really thorough in your approach, and as mentioned, doing the hard yards. I think you mentioned hosting sessions across different regions that you operate in, and collecting significant data. I just wondered, how did you structure these sessions, and what kind of information were you aiming to gather from your teammates and colleagues?
Yeah. So I think that every hiring manager can agree we all have those unicorn people in our teams we would love more of. So it made sense to us that we would go to those very people. So we identified over 70 top performers at Go1 that we went out to participate in our sessions. So we ended up hosting 6 global sessions across APAC, EMEA, and the US. These sessions were targeted focus sessions, so they were hosted by the TA team via Miro. So very much kind of serving as a virtual brainstorming session, where we posed a series of very simple questions, which were, why did you join? Why do you stay? Why would you leave? For us, this told a data story of, I guess, attraction, retention, attrition. And then the follow-on questions were, how would you describe Go One's culture in one word? And who thrives at Go One? And that told us the type of profile we should be looking for and the culture that we have now. So we ended up kind of collating over 600 data points within those Miro boards that we ended up dumping into a spreadsheet.
That's amazing, amazing. And I suppose it highlights the significance of asking your current people what it's like to work there and the reasons that they enjoy working at Go One. Because I know that the temptation is to go to market and do some market research and understand what the market wants and try to
Yeah,
highlight those things. I suppose the risk is that you mightn't be telling the truth about what it's like to actually work there. You're just telling people what they want to hear.
yeah,
So that's interesting that you took that approach. So I think you mentioned in your post that you collected about 600 data points. How did you go about analysing and prioritising this information to ensure that the EVP that you created was reflective of Go One's true character?
yeah. That's a good question. So we ended up taking the 600 data points from the Miro boards, putting them in a spreadsheet, and then we actually utilize AI. So we use ChatGPT to analyze the 600 data points, create common themes, and then we use the top trending themes to actually craft our EVP. So honestly, it would have taken a lot longer if we didn't have obviously amazing AI that we could kind of lean on to do this part for us.
Amazing, excellent. And then what were the data points? Like obviously, you hosted these sessions and you gathered some research from your people. Was there any other data points that you looked at internally or externally to try and inform that?
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. So we used the data sets from the sessions. We also used Glassdoor feedback, which, is kind of somewhat reflective of what the culture is. And then we also used our Culture AMP internal employee engagement surveys as well. So I guess you could say we used the three different data sets, but probably to influence our EVP, we wanted it to be more relevant to what our top performers were saying in real time. So we probably use the sessions mostly to inform and craft our EVP.
Amazing. And what now that the EVP has been created, have you created any assets or resources for your people? And I know sometimes, again, the temptation is just to land that statement and then just have this nice slogan that you plaster around in all of your comms. But was there any assets that you created, even for your people, for your hiring teams, to help make sure that this EVP was embedded throughout the organisation?
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's a good call out because I think creating an EVP is important, but it can fall short without buy-in from those responsible for actually amplifying the EVP. So our first priority was empowering the hiring managers and the TA team because they are the ones interacting with candidates on a daily basis. So we actually created an EVP handbook. So really it was designed to kind of inform, educate and promote the new EVP while ensuring that everyone is speaking the same language, regardless of, where in the world you are working from or what team you're a part of. So I think as well for us, a strong EVP is a lot more than just kind of the catchy slogans part of it. It's
Yeah.
all well and good to have like your solid, catchy slogan pillars. But in our handbook, we included everything a candidate would want to know. So our benefits, our company growth goals, an honest look at our culture, including the challenges, employee perks, and then our team rituals, how we communicate. So it's essentially a toolbox that encapsulates what it means to work at Go One from the feedback by our people.
That's amazing. Yeah, again, I think it's another example of best practice, and I've seen lots of EVPs, and I've been involved in rollouts myself where I've missed that step of taking the hiring managers or those responsible for being the real ambassadors of your EVP messaging through what the EVP means, so they understand and know how to maintain a level of consistency when talking through it. What's been your early feedback from your hiring managers? How have they taken to this playbook, and how are they using it practically?
Yeah, so that was another challenge because it's all well and good to create the EVP handbook, but are people actually using it? So we wanted to make sure that we were rolling it out in as many places as possible. So we rolled it out in the Slack channel. It's on our intranet. We also created like a Loom video where we explained and talked through the EVP handbook and how you should communicate with it. So regardless of if you've used the book or not, I think there was enough there for people to confidently say that, they've seen it, they'll use it. But the feedback was really positive. I think it's what people were needing, especially, I guess, more junior hiring managers or people that aren't so familiar with interviewing. They can take a look at it. It gives them, a 10-minute explainer of everything that a candidate will ask about Go One. And it kind of equips them to be able to head into an interview with the knowledge they need to really give the candidate what they need.
Amazing. And it sounds like you've taken a real practical approach to this then, because it's, a lot of people might create the EVP, roll it out, and then it's kind of, it's done, and you've sent the email and everyone's got it and everyone understands it. What was the inspiration for being practical about it and making sure that your teams had what they needed?
I think when you are working for a global company, you need to kind of almost over communicate because we don't have the luxury of, running an in-person session with all of our hiring managers, making sure they understand the EVP handbook and then watching them use it with candidates. So I think we've learnt along different projects that we need to be, I guess, rolling it out in a way that is so accessible for everyone across kind of our 3 different regions at Go One.
Amazing. And I suppose it's important in having the playbook in lots of different places, because the hiring managers typically only need to know this stuff when they need to know this stuff, and if they're not having to rely just on your team to do it, that would be quite helpful. I wanted to ask you about some of the challenges that you faced during this project, and I know I've spoken with people on EVP projects before, and it's one of those things that could just be kicked down the road to next year. I hear that being used a lot of time. Like,
Yeah.
I know we need a EVP, it needs an update, or we need a refresh, or we need to look at that, but we'll get to it next year. And I think that's because typically there is a few big challenges when you're tackling this project. I mean, the first one is that it takes a bit of time. If you want to do it well, you need to kind of speak to a lot of people. You need to engage your people internally. You need to do the research externally as well. And I think that could be a little bit off-putting. So I wondered if you had any challenges that you could share that you faced during this project, and maybe share some learnings with other HR professionals, or any TA people and managers who'd be listening to this, who might be considering either embarking on a similar journey to yourself, or maybe kicking it down the road for another year because they're a bit fearful of what they might be taking on.
Yeah. I mean, Go One is an L&D company, so there's always something to learn. Well, my first piece of advice would be don't look at it as a short-term project. It does take a long time if you are going to do it, I guess, the right way. But looking back, I think my biggest takeaway was the overwhelming amount of feedback that we received from employees, which kind of in turn created like a bit of a responsibility to act on some of that feedback. For instance, one of the questions that we asked at the focus sessions was why someone might leave Go One. So people shared their thoughts, openly, and they were vulnerable. So my main advice would be to prepare to take some action on some of that feedback, because failing to do so, I guess, can negatively impact employee experience, because essentially when people are so honest in sharing their thoughts and they don't see any changes resulting from it, it can almost cause the opposite effect of what you're trying to achieve. So luckily, we have a really amazing people experience team that we could then pass that feedback over to and make some really quick wins. And funnily enough, most of the I guess not so positive feedback was things that we were already working on, which was great. So we could go back to those focus sessions and share with them, the changes that we've made as well.
Excellent. You got to fill in some communication gaps there potentially. That's excellent.
Yeah,
It's amazing some of
yeah.
the things that you can uncover in these projects because you do ask the big questions, like why are you here? What would make you stay a little bit longer? Why would you potentially
Yeah.
leave? There's some tough questions to ask, and I think sometimes we could dance around that stuff or just avoid asking
Mm.
those questions. Was there anything big that you learned throughout that process of getting in front of people in those focus groups and sessions and asking those difficult questions?
Yeah, I mean, a couple of things. The first thing was we did a bit of an icebreaker just to kind of break the tension, make people feel a little bit more at ease, and kind of create a bit of a safe environment so they could share openly. So we cracked a few jokes, we made it a bit lighthearted, which I think really helped in them sharing. The second thing was we intentionally split the focus sessions to be either leadership or individual contributors. So that way the ICs weren't with their leader in the same session. So we felt, you know, they could be a little bit more honest. Their leader's not going to be in the same session, seeing the feedback that they were sharing about potentially the reasons why they would leave. So I think if you can create a bit of separation in that so that each level feels really safe to share feedback and you're creating like a really solid environment, then that will definitely help.
Awesome. That's great tips. And I know, again, some people are nervous around the old focus group, and but the knee jerk reaction is sometimes just to
Hmm.
flick out a survey. I think there's so much value in sitting down with people and having that conversation. And we've found
Yeah.
running those projects ourselves that yes, surveys can give you some good data and point you in the right direction sometimes, but there's nothing quite like sitting down and hosting those sessions and drawing out the
Yeah.
feeling, I think, from those
Yeah,
things that you don't get the
100%.
emotion.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
and I
nice.
agree. I was going to say, you can also kind of, because we kind of debriefed a little bit at the session as well, where we would say, oh, this is an interesting point of view. Does anyone want to share more thoughts on that? Because I think you obviously get to open up the conversation a little bit more. You definitely are able to pull more info from them rather than just a survey. So yeah, I think if you can create, I guess, more of a either virtual or in real life session, where it is kind of two-way and open and you're creating a bit of a conversation loop, then you are definitely going to get more from it.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, I hear you there. I think in our experience, you need to talk to people to hear the passion, and
Mm,
really have an EVP that looks good on paper, but lacks emotion. And if it's not emotive, then it's very hard to drive action. And essentially, that's what you want from an EVP, whether it's to your existing people, they need to feel something from it, or whether it's to the market, they need to feel something for it from it. So there's a bit of desire there, or there's a bit of motivation to actually act on it. And I think without speaking to people, you just don't really get that feeling of where people's passion is. And I say, yeah, awesome. I'm glad you went with that approach, and I could see it in the results. And in fact, I did see you posted a video as well. It's kind of a little bit about the journey of the project, and it shared some glimmer of what the EVP was. Was that how you rolled it out internally as well? Did you use some of those videos with real employees? I think on there is was something I noticed.
yeah, so we rolled it out officially at one of our all hands global meetings, where we essentially shared kind of what the project was, what the pillars were that we landed on, and then from there we said, keep your eye out for the EVP handbook that will be coming. So that was kind of where we first floated, I guess, the project and the launch of it. From there, that video that you would have seen was the external launch. So we're very much in the kind of activation phase. We've only just really launched it externally. We've just posted it on our careers page. So there'll definitely be more to come, hopefully soon.
Excellent. All right, you're teasing it out. That's good. And I suppose that Go One is an exciting company. I've followed Go One for quite a while as an outsider. I've used the product before as well, so I've been a user of the product. I know it's an exciting company within an exciting industry, so it was great to see that the EVP matched that. And I know sometimes if the EVP and the messaging doesn't match the actual culture or the nature of the company, it kind of raises a lot of eyebrows. But I can see from the reaction of your post that it's landing and people are excited by it. So I wanted to ask that with the EVP now rolled out, what are the next steps for Go One in terms of employee engagement or employer branding?
That's a good question. So I think firstly, we hope that everyone joining Go One actually feels what we communicated the EVP is the reality of their experience. So we'll definitely be kind of monitoring and measuring that in our kind of new hire check-ins. But moving into the future, our biggest goal is to increase brand advocacy in the US and EMEA, where Go One is not as well known, being kind of an Australian-based company, Australian founded, should I say. We are also going to be launching our new careers page next week, which is super exciting. That has been in the works for a long time. So yeah, we've got a few things in the pipeline, which is very exciting. So yeah, you'll have to keep posted.
Excellent, brilliant. The gift that keeps giving. Hey, congratulations, by the way, on a really successful rollout of this, and the whole journey has been fascinating to kind of listen to. So thanks heaps for coming on and sharing what you did, sharing the challenges and also the kind of process that you took and some of the early wins. It's been great to hear from you, Alexia. So thank you very much for coming on and being so generous with your sharing your insights.
That's okay. And I must say, I couldn't have done it without the TA team and my leader, Donna, who is amazing. But it was very much a team effort. So yeah, I want to thank them as well for kind of bringing this vision to life. Couldn't have done it without them.
Fantastic, excellent, and thanks for coming on.
No, thank you for having me. It's been great chatting to you. So I want to thank you for your time.
There you go, recognition all around. Brilliant, thank you. Thank you, Alexia, for such an awesome conversation and also for sharing your expertise in crafting effective and genuine EVPs. And thank you to all listeners for tuning in. If Alexia's approach to employer branding sparked your interest, or if you're looking to redefine your company's EVP, then reach out to us at Axona or visit the Axona website for a bunch of free resources, tips and hints on how you can improve, define, develop or design an attractive EVP for the right talent. That's all for today. Until next time, bye-bye.